Listen carefully. Do not rush. Every sentence is for your ears. Read along if you need to. But try to listen first. Let the story come to you. Part 1. The beginning of everything. Imagine a game so simple that all you need is a ball and an open piece of ground. No expensive equipment. No complicated rules to memorize before you can begin. Just a ball, 2 teams, and a goal at each end. That is football. And for hundreds of millions of people around the world, it is not just a sport. It is a language. A shared language that does not need words. The story of the FIFA World Cup begins in 1904, when a group of football associations from 7 European countries gathered in Paris, France, and decided to create an international governing body for the sport. They called it the Fédération Internationale de Football Association. In English, we know it by its initials, FIFA. But the dream of a single tournament, one competition to find the greatest football nation on earth, took another 26 years to become reality. The first FIFA World Cup was held in 1930. The host country was Uruguay, a small nation on the eastern coast of South America. At the time, Uruguay was the reigning Olympic football champion, and they had offered to pay all travel and accommodation costs for participating teams. This was important because in 1930, international travel was expensive, slow, and uncomfortable. The journey from Europe to Uruguay by ship took several weeks. Many European nations declined the invitation. The long voyage, the cost, the uncertainty, it was too much. In the end, only 13 teams participated in the very first World Cup. 4 from Europe, 9 from the Americas. 13 teams. 1 tournament. And a dream that the whole world was watching, even if most of the world did not yet know it. Key vocabulary. Listen, then repeat. Governing body. An organization that makes and enforces the rules for a particular activity. FIFA is the governing body of world football. Reigning champion, the current champion, the one who holds the title right now. Brazil were the reigning World Cup champions going into the 2002 tournament. Decline an invitation, to say no to an invitation. Several European nations declined the invitation to the first World Cup. Accommodate, to provide space or facilities for someone. The host city had to accommodate thousands of visiting supporters. Part 2, the first final. On July 30, 1930, the first World Cup final was played in Montevideo, the capital city of Uruguay. The 2 teams facing each other were the host nation Uruguay and their neighbors from across the Rio de la Plata River, Argentina. The match was watched by an estimated crowd of 93,000 people, an extraordinary number for the era. The atmosphere inside the Estadio Centenario was electric. Argentina scored first. Then Uruguay equalized. Argentina went ahead again. And then, in the second half, Uruguay produced a stunning comeback. They scored 3 goals in the second half to win the match 4-2. The streets of Montevideo exploded with celebration. It was declared a national holiday. Across the river in Buenos Aires, the Uruguayan consulate, the government building representing Uruguay, had its windows smashed by angry Argentine supporters. Football, from its very first World Cup final, was never just a game. It carried the weight of national pride, of history, of emotion too large for ordinary life to contain. Uruguay lifted the first World Cup trophy. The trophy was called the Jules Rimet Trophy, named after the French football official who had championed the idea of a World Cup for decades. And with that first final, a tradition was born. A tradition that would grow and travel and absorb the entire world. Key vocabulary. Listen, then repeat. Equalize, to score a goal that makes the score level again. Brazil equalized in the second half with a header from the captain. Stunning comeback. An impressive recovery from a losing position. Nobody expected such a stunning comeback after being 2 goals down. Consulate. The office of a consul, a government official who assists citizens abroad. She went to the consulate to renew her passport. Champion, to actively support and fight for an idea or cause. She championed equal pay for women throughout her career. Part 3. The world changes, the tournament grows. The World Cup did not happen in 1942 or 1946. The Second World War had torn the world apart, and football, like most things, was suspended while nations fought for survival. When the World Cup returned in 1950, it was held in Brazil. And in the final match, which was not technically a final in those days but a round-robin group, Uruguay again faced Brazil. Brazil needed only a draw to win the tournament. They were playing at home in the Maracanazo Stadium in Rio de Janeiro, in front of nearly 200,000 people. It remains the largest crowd ever to attend a football match. Brazil were expected to win easily. Their team was considered one of the most talented in the world. The city of Rio de Janeiro had already begun its celebrations. Newspapers had printed victory editions in advance. And then Uruguay scored the winning goal in the final minutes. The silence that fell over the Maracana is considered one of the most extraordinary moments in sports history. 200,000 people, suddenly silent. A Brazilian commentator on the radio simply stopped speaking for several minutes. He did not know what to say. This moment became known in Brazil as the Maracanazo, the great blow of the Maracana. It is remembered to this day as one of the most devastating upsets in football history. The 1950 World Cup taught the world something important about this tournament. No result is guaranteed. No nation is too great to fall. And that uncertainty, that beautiful, terrifying uncertainty, is what makes the World Cup the most watched sporting event in human history. Key vocabulary. Listen, then repeat. Round robin. A competition format in which every participant plays against every other participant. In the round robin stage, every team plays at least 3 matches. Upset. A result in which the weaker or less favored side defeats the stronger one. The defeat of the reigning champions in the first round was a massive upset. Devastating, causing great shock, pain or disappointment. The loss was devastating for the entire nation. Guaranteed, certain to happen, assured beyond doubt. Nothing in football is ever guaranteed. That is why we watch. Part 4. Pelé, Brazil, and the beautiful game. The 1958 World Cup was held in Sweden. And it was there that a 17-year-old boy from Brazil stepped onto the world stage and changed football forever. His name was Edson Arantes do Nascimento. The world would come to know him as Pelé. He had grown up in poverty in the city of Bauru in São Paulo state. As a child, he could not afford a proper football. He practiced with a grapefruit. He stuffed rags into a sock to make a ball shape. He played barefoot on dusty streets with other children who also could not afford boots. By the time he was 15, he was playing professional football. By 16, he was in the Brazilian national team. And at 17, at the 1958 World Cup, he became the youngest player ever to appear in a World Cup final, and scored 2 goals to help Brazil win the trophy for the first time. He wept on the pitch after the final whistle. A 17-year-old boy, weeping with joy in the middle of a football pitch in Sweden, surrounded by his teammates. It is one of the most iconic images in sporting history. Brazil went on to win the World Cup again in 1962 and in 1970. The 1970 team is widely considered the greatest international football team ever assembled. They played with such grace, such creativity, such joy, that their football earned a phrase that has never left the language of the sport. O jogo bonito. The beautiful game. And Pelé at the center of it all, scoring goals that seem to contradict the laws of physics and express something about human possibility that no other language could quite reach. Key vocabulary. Listen, then repeat. Poverty, the state of being extremely poor, lacking basic resources. He grew up in poverty and became one of the wealthiest athletes in history. Iconic. Very famous and widely recognized. Representing something beyond itself. The photograph became iconic. Reproduced millions of times in the decades that followed. Assemble, to bring together a group of people or things in one place. They had assembled the most talented squad the country had ever seen. Contradict, to go against something, to be opposite to what is expected. His calm manner seemed to contradict the enormous pressure he was under. Part 5. Drama, miracle and heartbreak. The World Cup, across its long history, has produced moments that no novelist could have invented. Let me tell you a few. In 1966, England hosted the World Cup for the first time. In the final, England faced West Germany at Wembley Stadium in London. The match went to extra time, 30 additional minutes of play after a full-time draw. In extra time, England's Geoff Hurst struck a shot that hit the crossbar and bounced down. The referee and his assistant debated whether the ball had crossed the line. They decided it had. Goal. England went on to win 4-2, with Hurst completing a hat-trick, 3 goals in a single match, in the final moments. To this day, nobody agrees on whether the ball fully crossed the line. West Germans say it did not. English supporters say it did. The debate has continued for 60 years and will almost certainly never be resolved. In 1970, the match between Italy and West Germany in the semi-final is often called the game of the century. It finished 4-3 after extra time. Every goal was extraordinary. The pace of the match, the drama, the quality. Commentators ran out of words. It remains the highest-scoring semi-final in World Cup history. In 1986, Diego Maradona of Argentina played the match of his life against England in the quarter-final. He scored 2 goals. The first was with his hand, deliberately, illegally against the rules. When asked about it afterward, he famously described it as scored a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. The phrase "the hand of God" has lived in the English language ever since. His second goal was the opposite, considered by many to be the greatest goal ever scored. He received the ball in his own half, dribbled 60 meters through almost the entire England team, beat 5 players and the goalkeeper, and placed the ball in the net. The commentator Victor Hugo Morales became so overcome with emotion that he abandoned conventional commentary altogether, and instead delivered a spontaneous poem of pure joy in Spanish, ending with the words "Cosmic Kite, what planet did you come from?" These are the moments the World Cup produces. Moments that do not simply describe human achievement. They become part of human language. Key vocabulary. Listen, then repeat. Extra time. Additional playing time added at the end of a match when the score is tied. The match was exhausting. 90 minutes of normal time followed by 30 minutes of extra time. Hat-trick. 3 goals scored by the same player in a single match. She completed the hat-trick with a penalty in the final minute. Resolve. To settle a dispute or problem, to bring something to a conclusion. The argument was never resolved. They simply agreed to disagree. Spontaneous. Happening suddenly and naturally, without being planned in advance. Her spontaneous speech at the ceremony moved everyone in the room. Part 6. The World Watches. Today, the FIFA World Cup is the most watched sporting event in the history of television. The 2022 World Cup final between Argentina and France was watched by an estimated 500 million people simultaneously. At the same moment, across every time zone on Earth. 500 million. The same moment. One match. That number is larger than the entire population of South America. Larger than the combined population of the United States and the European Union. And why? Why does this tournament, every 4 years, stop the world? Because it is genuinely unpredictable. Because a team from a small nation can, on any given day, defeat one of the great footballing powers. Because the rules are simple enough for a child to understand but deep enough to produce an infinite variety of outcomes. Because the stakes are real, you win or you go home, there is no compromise, no consolation prize that feels like winning. And because football is one of the few things that genuinely crosses every barrier. Language, culture, religion, politics, wealth. On a football pitch, the ball does not know what language its player speaks. The goal does not care which country the scorer came from. For 90 minutes, and sometimes longer, the world shares the same story. Key vocabulary. Listen, then repeat. Simultaneously, at the same time, happening together. Millions of people around the world were watching simultaneously. Unpredictable. Impossible to know in advance what will happen. Football is completely unpredictable. That is its greatest attraction. Stakes, the things that can be won or lost in a situation. What is at risk? The stakes could not have been higher. One game, one chance, everything on the line. Consolation. comfort given to someone after a loss or disappointment. The silver medal felt like little consolation after coming so close to gold. Part 7 2026. The World Cup is here. Right now, as this video reaches you, the 2026 FIFA World Cup is underway. This tournament is historic before a single ball has been kicked in anger, because for the first time in the competition's history, 3 nations are hosting together: the United States, Canada, and Mexico. 48 teams are competing, more than ever before. Stadiums across 3 countries, from Vancouver to Mexico City to New York, are filled with supporters who have traveled from every corner of the earth. And on the pitch, the stories are already writing themselves. Veteran players chasing the one trophy that has eluded them. Young players announcing themselves to the world for the first time. Small nations upsetting giants. Giants recovering from early shocks. Every match carrying the weight of a nation's hope. The language of the World Cup, the vocabulary of triumph and defeat, of last-minute goals and heartbreaking near-misses, of underdogs and favorites, and the beautiful chaos of sport at its highest level, is the language this listening story has tried to give you. Because when you understand the story of the World Cup, you understand some of the richest, most emotionally powerful English in the world. The language of sport is the language of human drama. And human drama is the oldest story there is. Key vocabulary. Listen, then repeat. Veteran, a person with a great deal of experience in a particular field. She is a veteran of 4 World Cups and the most capped player in her country's history. Elude, to escape from or avoid, especially in a clever way, to fail to be achieved by someone. The championship had eluded him throughout his long career. Underdog, a person or team expected to lose. The less favored competitor. Nobody expected the underdog to reach the final, let alone win it. Chaos, complete disorder and confusion. The final minutes of the match descended into beautiful chaos. Part 8. Your listening practice. Now that you have heard the story, here are the things to do. First, listen again from the beginning without reading. Close your eyes if it helps. Let the English wash over you. Notice which parts you understand easily now that you have read along once. Second, choose 5 words from the vocabulary sections. Write them in a sentence about something in your own life. Third, retell the story. Not word for word, just the main events in your own English out loud. Start with this sentence. The FIFA World Cup began in 1930 when... Then keep going. Say as much as you can. Do not stop to find the perfect word. Use what you have. The telling is the practice. Fourth, find one thing from this story that surprised you. Say it out loud in English. I did not know that. It surprised me to learn that. I found it interesting that. This is how you build English that belongs to you. Not memorized. Not borrowed from a textbook. Built from real stories, told in your own words about things that genuinely engaged you. The World Cup is 90 minutes plus whatever extra time the drama demands. Your English has no time limit. Just keeps going as long as you keep showing up. Keep listening. Keep going. Part 9. More stories from the World Cup. There is one more story you need to hear. A story about a team, a moment, and a word that entered the English language forever because of what happened in South Africa in 2010. Vuvuzela. If you watched the 2010 World Cup, held in South Africa, you remember the sound. A continuous, buzzing, humming roar that filled every stadium from the first minute to the last. Millions of plastic horns, played by millions of supporters, creating a sound that had never been heard at a World Cup before. Some viewers loved it. Others found it overwhelming. Television commentators struggled to be heard. Coaches struggled to give instructions on the pitch because players could not hear them over the noise. But the vuvuzela became a symbol of something important. It was a symbol of Africa hosting the World Cup for the first time. It was a symbol of South Africa's pride, of the continent's joy at being given one of sport's greatest stages. And it was a symbol of the World Cup's extraordinary ability to absorb the culture of its host nation, to become something slightly different each time, reflecting the specific place and people who receive it. The 2010 World Cup produced another unforgettable story. Spain, for the first time in their history, won the World Cup. They did it by playing a style of football so controlled, so precise, so relentlessly possession-based that it changed the way the entire world thought about the game. Their style was called tiki-taka, a Spanish term for the short, quick passing game. The ball moved from player to player so fast that opponents could barely touch it. Spain did not just win matches. They made football look like a conversation. A rapid, precise, endlessly inventive conversation in which every player both spoke and listened with equal importance. Their captain and goalkeeper Iker Casillas lifted the trophy in the final with tears running down his face. And their midfielder Andres Iniesta, who scored the winning goal against the Netherlands in extra time, removed his shirt to reveal a message to a friend and former teammate, Danny Jarque, who had died of a heart attack the previous year. In that moment, in the middle of a World Cup final, football reached beyond sport altogether. It became something more human than any game has a right to be. Key vocabulary. Listen, then repeat. Overwhelming. Too intense, too much to deal with comfortably. The noise in the stadium was overwhelming. She could barely hear herself think. Possession, the state of having or controlling something. Spain's possession-based style meant they often controlled 70% of the ball. Relentlessly, without stopping or weakening, continuously. She worked relentlessly to improve her English, every single day. Reveal, to make something known or visible that was previously hidden. He removed his shirt to reveal a message written underneath. Part 10. The language of sport is the language of life. The reason this story is useful for your English goes far beyond football vocabulary. The emotions in this story are universal. Joy, grief, pride, humiliation, hope, disbelief, resilience. These are the feelings that live at the heart of every World Cup, and they are the feelings that live at the heart of every human life. And the vocabulary of these feelings, words like devastating, stunning, spontaneous, inevitable, resilient, determined, triumphant, is vocabulary you can use in every area of your English. In the office. In a conversation about your own life. In a letter to a friend. Sport gives language learners something that grammar books cannot give. Gives context. Gives stakes. It gives you a reason to care about the words because the words are attached to real events, real people, real moments that genuinely move the world. So when you learn the word equalize from a story about the 1930 World Cup final, that word now has a home in your memory. Specific home. A home inside a story, inside a feeling, inside a stadium in Montevideo in the heat of a South American July. That is how vocabulary sticks. Not through lists, through stories. And this is why English listening practice built around great stories. Stories from sport, from history, from culture, from the lives of extraordinary people, is one of the most powerful tools available to you. Key vocabulary. Listen, then repeat. Universal, experienced or shared by all people regardless of culture or language. Grief is universal. Every human culture has words for it. Inevitable, certain to happen, unable to be avoided. After playing so well all tournament, their victory felt inevitable. Resilient. Able to recover quickly from difficulties. The team was resilient, they came back from 3 goals down to draw. Triumphant. Having achieved a great victory or success. She walked off the stage triumphant, knowing she had given her best performance. Final listening exercise. Listen to this paragraph one time. Then cover the page and try to say it back in your own words. The FIFA World Cup began in Uruguay in 1930 with just 13 teams. It has grown into the most watched sporting event in human history, with the 2022 final attracting 500 million simultaneous viewers. The tournament has produced moments of extraordinary beauty, devastating heartbreak, and genuine human drama. From Pelé weeping on a pitch in Sweden at 17, to Maradona's hand of God, to Iniesta's message on his shirt in Johannesburg. It is the story of football. And football is the story of the world. Now say it back. In your own words. Loud. You do not need to be perfect. You need to speak. That is always the point. That is always the practice. SERA English. Keep listening. Keep speaking. Keep going. Bonus vocabulary. 30 words from this story. Use these words in your own sentences today. Govern, to control and make rules for something. FIFA governs world football. Tournament. a competition involving many players or teams. 48 teams entered the tournament. Participate to take part in something. Only 13 nations participated in the first World Cup. Era, a long and distinct period of time. In that era, international travel took weeks. Encounter, to meet or experience something unexpectedly. She had never encountered such a difficult exam before. Rivalry, a competitive relationship between people or groups. The rivalry between Argentina and Brazil is one of football's greatest. Anticipation, excitement about something that is going to happen. The anticipation before the final was unbearable. Triumph, a great victory or achievement. Her triumph at the championship was the result of years of hard work. Overcome, to successfully deal with a problem or difficulty. She was overcome with emotion when she heard the result. Persevere, to continue doing something despite difficulty. He persevered through injury to play in the final match. Legacy, the long-lasting impact someone leaves behind. Pelé's legacy continues to inspire young footballers around the world. Honor, to show great respect for something or someone. The captain was honored to lead his country at a World Cup. Dedicate, to give your time and effort to something. She dedicated years of her life to becoming the best. Pursue, to follow or chase something you want to achieve. He pursued his dream of playing professional football from childhood. Achieve, to successfully reach a goal through effort. She achieved what nobody believed was possible. Suspend, to stop something temporarily. The competition was suspended during the Second World War. Resume, to begin again after a pause. The World Cup resumed in 1950 after an 8-year break. Represent, to stand for or act on behalf of someone or something. Each player is proud to represent their country on the world stage. Crowd, a large group of people gathered in one place. The crowd fell silent when the final whistle blew. Whistle, a device used by a referee to signal the start or end of play. The referee blew his whistle and the match was over.